about everything. And we do talk a lot. Like, Dave's an ongoing mentor of mine.
Yeah.
I feel like people are like, oh, that was my mentor when I was up and coming. And it's like, to me, like I don't know. That always like hit me. I'm like, what? Like, this person's also growing. I'm growing and you're growing. So it's like,
Yeah.
right? Like every now and then I learn something new from you,
and vice versa, right? Because when we teach, we learn. When we coach, we learn. And so it works both ways.
Yeah, and every now and then I'll have like a eureka moment. I'm like, yo, this you wouldn't believe what happened. I want to end. So this has been a great conversation, and hopefully, people will find value in this. People looking to get into sales, or people who are in sales or looking to take their career to the next step. Like, this is the real, like, actual. There's meat to this. There's actual. There's no fluff here. There's substance to these words, to these actions. They're not even techniques. They're almost principles that you live by. And I'm going to have a series of these. I've got a few folks lined up, but I want to end on, I think I'm going to end on the similar question for each and every one of them. But everyone claims, so everyone claims that they've got the one thing. You see all these books out there. I think there's even a book called The One Thing.
I've read it.
Yeah. And no knock on that book. But everyone claims there's one thing. Like, there's like, this is it. Like, do this and you're there, right? If there was, like, what is David Allen Eagle's one thing?
So I'm going to cheat. I'm going to give a short one and then just a slightly longer one, but they're both quick. The short one, I mentioned it earlier, is take full ownership of everything and everything becomes easier. That's the one thing. And you can relate, Xavier, when you think about all the success you've had, it's because you had these eureka, as you said, or these epiphany moments where you're like, you know what? Whether it's grabbing the whiteboard marker or creating your own CRM tool, which you did back when you worked with me, right? I don't like the tool that the organization has. I'm making my own. And yes, it was a fancy Excel sheet, but you went on to use that for years. So that's the one thing. Now, all the successful executives that I've met over the years, they had that same mentality. It wasn't get your MBA, make sure you go to Harvard, right? It was none of that. It was always this theme of good old fashioned, there's no substitute for hard work. And part of that hard work is own it. You own it, right? It doesn't mean you do it all on your own, but you own that I'm going to be the one to make sure this gets done.
Shout out to Jocko on ownership. You own it.
Yeah, you own it, and like you said earlier, I'm surprised Extreme Ownership, wasn't in the top 3, and it's 3.5. I'll give the slightly longer one, and it is a Jocko quote because you mentioned it. So again, number 1, take full ownership of everything, and everything becomes easier. The other, and as only Jocko could do, because somebody had called into the podcast or written in and said, what's the one thing, the one change you need to make to, truly see enlightenment? And as only Jocko could answer it, right? He said, it isn't one thing, and it isn't 10 things, and it isn't 100 things. It isn't a quick path, and there are no shortcuts. Getting better isn't a hack or a trick or a one change you need to make. Getting better is a campaign. It's a campaign. It's a daily, a weekly, it's an hourly fight. It's an incessant fight that doesn't stop against weakness and against temptation and against laziness. It's a campaign of discipline. It's a campaign of hard work and dedication. It's waking up early and going to bed late and grinding out every second in between, every single day. And as he finished, like, you want to improve, stop looking for a shortcut and find your alarm clock and find your discipline and find your guts and find your passion and find your drive and find your will. And then you will find your freedom.
Boom. There it is. I think you cheated a little bit. You took the one thing, you took Jocko's one thing. But I'll let it slide. But you're right. That's it. Like that's if my answer, I mean, I think that's one I've taken to heart, and that's why I think that goes wide to the heart of why I say I'm starting this. Why this is my goal. It's to have these conversations to get to the root of. It isn't a trick. It isn't 10. It isn't top 5, top 10. It's through conversation we're going to get to the these values that make that elevate you, and that may be elevating you from 1 to 3 or from 3 to 5, from 100 to 102, like wherever you are. But like I think the goal is to be a little bit better every day. I think that should be what we all strive for, specifically in sales. I think it's been, if anybody wants to learn, this is great for them. So, that was a solid almost 2 hours. That, like, not bad for a first one.